Hey everybody, welcome to Society Week. We have been going through our DNA, Kingdom, Disciple, Society, and next week will be Church. And today we're going to focus on what does it look like to really make friends in our neighborhood. And so Emily and I are going to have a great discussion on that. I hope it's fruitful and beneficial to you. And it's all with the backdrop of John 15, where Jesus talks about being the vine that we are grafted into, and that there's a vine dresser, that's the Father, who's pruning so that we can bear more fruit. And a lot of that for us is going to be new relationships in our neighborhood, and maybe even multiplying R3s. But the focus early on in this year will just be reconnecting with what we were made for, that we were actually just built for friendship. And so have fun reading this scripture again. I know you'll be on the third time that you've heard it over the last few weeks. And so really just ask the Spirit, God, what do you want me to see today? Sometimes things can get mundane for us and we kind of ignore them. But if we're really present in every moment, God is always going to reveal something beautiful to you, even in the mundane things. And so as you guys read the same passage for the third week in a row, look out for that beautiful thing that really is going to change your heart, and have that lead you into song and into worship. And let's have fun doing that together in our R3s scattered all across the city. So church, it's good to see you. I hope you have fun. I know we're gonna have fun at my house. Our time singing is usually involved with the kids dragging some adult into the middle of the carpet and dancing around in circles, ring around the rosy style, and it's just a blast. And so I hope you guys build a beautiful worship culture in your R3 too. So have fun reading the scripture and singing together.
We can call upon him at any time. Come on, let's sing this out together. Sing, no matter the hour. No matter the hour. trial, I'm choosing hope. I will remember all that you are. You'll never leave me alone. No, you'll never leave me, Lord. You'll never leave me. You'll never leave me.
Welcome back. Let's pause for a moment. We will continue to sing and continue to worship together. But what I would love to do right now is just have a moment of reflection where we take this concept of friendship and just analyze how that's going in our own life, right? Because you'll find yourself out there in your neighborhood doing things and you'll have choices to make. Will I ask for this person's phone number? Yes or no? Will I smile? Will I, what should I do, right? And you're gonna have to make decisions. And so we should know where we're at in our heart on these things. And so ask yourself, how am I at making new friends? And what might prevent me from giving a full-on, yes, I love it? Is it fear, anxiety, insecurity? What is it that prevents you from doing that? And on the other hand, because some of us are really good at making friends. Some of us struggle with some of those things. And on the other hand too, how are you doing in your faith? Do you like sharing your faith? Do you like it, or is that something that's also maybe scary, causes insecurity for you? And then some of us, we have one, but not the other. And so just pause and reflect on how you do at integrating those things together to be one holistic, integrated person. And so let's just take a minute and allow the Spirit to analyze that for us. And you may find that the Holy Spirit says, you're doing good. And so rejoice. And you might find there's just a little point of conviction. It's like, hey, you had that opportunity to smile to that cashier, but you didn't. You just head down. What's up with that? And allow the Spirit to transform you. And as we go into song, take whatever the Spirit gives you and just lift it back up to the Lord. That's what worship is for. This interactive, dynamic time where God is transforming and you are celebrating and enjoying that process together. So church, have fun with that. Take a minute. I hope it's fruitful for you. And then continue to sing to our God, Jesus Christ.
By the grace of God, you chose the cross, the perfect life for us. Thank you for the cross, your life poured out for us. All the wisdom of the world couldn't set us free. Oh, is all we need. Through your sacrifice, we were brought to life. Your righteousness in us, our lives transformed to be like you, Lord. So the world will hear us sing. Thank you for the cross, your life poured out for us. All the wisdom of the world couldn't set us free. Oh, the cross is all we need. All we are, we owe to you. All we have is by your grace, and all we are, we owe to you. And all we have is by your grace. Thank you for the cross, your life poured out for us. All the wisdom of the world couldn't set us free. Oh, the cross, oh, the cross. Oh, the cross, oh, the cross is all we need.
Check, check. Hey, 1 2 1 2. Check, check. Check.
What is an instance in which you have felt most known and most loved?
Well, for myself as a choir director, I directed 4 choirs within a calendar year. They were all adult choirs. And so that huge community of adult singers gave me a humbling amount of love. Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know if I can answer that one.
Well, in my high school, my high school was sort of it was a small high school. The graduating class was only about 40 people, so it was everyone knew each other, and I had a group of friends there, and I guess senior year I felt the most loved.
By my family. Yeah, I'd have to say that. I mean, most of the time nobody knows you better than your family, but I'm especially grateful for my family because a lot of my friends have broken homes.
For me, there have been very key moments that I could point to in my walk with Jesus that were defining moments that, led to me, pursuing becoming a pastor, or giving up alcohol because I was, a borderline alcoholic. And those moments where I was seen and known by God have had a definitive kind of impact on, a changing of direction of who I am and where I'm going, because I've been seen and known by a God who actually cares. Yeah.
When I went to my university, so I studied in UFT, which I graduated this year, and I think that was a great place to, I don't know about love, but it was being known, being with my classmates and doing coursework that helped a lot. So I think going back to school is a great way to make friends.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, probably my birthday when I was sleeping and then everybody walked in, waking me up singing happy birthday, and Kaylee bought me Timbits, 50 Timbits, and that was like, oh my gosh. And it was in October, so I didn't even know everyone that well.
Timbits are a love language.
So yeah.
My mom passed away a few years ago, so when everybody came together to see me and all that, I guess that's when I saw who really cared about me and all that.
I was known and loved. I mean, I can, just corny, but my wife, whenever she, I don't know, just goes out of her way to say, like, for a birthday present, does something that I didn't really expect, not just a present, but like an activity, or goes out of her way to notices the things that I like and does those for me without me even speaking it, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's probably about it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
You're all set, man. Thank you so much
Cool.
for your time.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Built for Friendship series, week 3. We will be talking about society. My name is Adam, as you know, and today we have
Emily.
most of you guys know Emily, and the reason she is here today is because you've been just such a great partner in crime as we engage our new neighborhood. We moved into a new neighborhood 2 years ago. And it's been really fun doing it together.
Yeah.
So I thought I would involve you as we talk about society. And,
Love it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, Emily, share with us all your wisdom that you've learned from engaging your neighborhood this past year.
All my wisdom.
Yes.
I'll try. I'll try just a little bit.
Let's start with one little nugget of
So we're
wisdom.
talking about society. We're talking about engaging our neighborhood and what that means. I mean, really, to me, that's like a fancy word for saying like making friends where I live. And I think that's important because I think sometimes we have all this like Christian language around it. But yeah, how I have engaged my neighborhood and connected with those around me, and some of the benefits. What have I learned? I think you said. I've learned that the people that live near me can be some of my best friends. And that's been just really true in so many ways. A couple examples are like one of the people really close to me that I might not have met had it not been for our actual location and our actual neighborhood, is now probably one of my best friends. And we spend a lot of time together and we help each other out a lot with kids or just like borrowing stuff or whatever. And she's just one of my best friends now. And then another couple that we met just because I think we shoveled their driveway of snow, or you guys shoveled the driveway of snow. One winter, our first winter there at our house was just our Italian neighbors, and we drop in on them anytime we want. And so now they're like actually this really close, beautiful image of wisdom in my life. And so I've kind of learned that the people near me can actually just become really, really good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the first relationship you're talking about, single mom in the neighborhood, we're able to help her, serve her, love her, and but then that relationship pours back the other way.
Oh
as
yeah.
well, right?
Oh yeah.
And
oh yeah. It's not one way at all.
Yeah, oftentimes we think that, I have to constantly pour myself out.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, mission, and Jesus says it like this in John chapter 4, it's actually the food that we eat. It's the thing that gives us life and energy and fills us, and and that's what it should be like to serve the kingdom. He says like this, to accomplish the will of the one who sent me.
Yeah.
That is my food. I feast on that.
Yeah.
And that Italian family, they're all living in the house together. It's a multi-generational family. The grandma's there, the 2 parents are there, and the 2 kids who are late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
And we can relate to all three of those generations. We need all three of those.
Yeah.
You know, we need the parents because we don't have our parents around, right? And so we go over and it's like mom and dad. You know, we need the kids because we need to stay connected to what's relevant and new and fresh and young. You know, we need that energy, and it's just great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it. Okay, so let's say someone's like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want that. Where should they start, you think?
I mean, we started with a random coffee and shoveling a driveway of snow. So I think it can look as creative as you want it to be. And I don't think there's any rules. And I don't think it has to be complicated. I mean, one of the ways we met some other neighbors were, I think, our first month in our new house with Matt and Rebecca. We bought the house with another couple, for those that don't know. And we gave out pickles to a bunch of our neighbors. And it was just like a way to meet people.
Homemade.
Homemade
give
pickles.
a random jar of Bix grocery store
Homemade pickles. That's right. That would be weird hearing that out of context. We just gave giving gifts. Like, do what you're good at. Like, I love making food. You guys loved shoveling driveways because you just love serving in that way, and it's easy for a bunch of dudes. Like, all the guys went outside.
We actually brought someone who we were building a relationship with. We brought them with us, right? And that was a part of him integrating into community, was us serving the community.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, to answer your question a little more specifically is identify what you like doing and try to just do that in where you live. Whether that's like at the park with your kids, or if you don't have kids, maybe that's just like knocking on some neighbor's door and like giving them a fresh loaf of bread or a jar of pickles or whatever you're good at making or enjoy. Like, you use the things that you already have good. You don't have to go out of your way. You don't have to maybe you have to go a little out of your way, but like, you don't have to do something that you're uncomfortable with. Do something that you're already comfortable with and connect those two passions together, I guess.
That was a good way to put it, is it does take sacrifice, but if you operate in your strengths and gifts that the Lord's provided to you, it should be life-giving.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's totally how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I think too, we do need to start with honesty, like just you and the Lord, right? Saying like, where am I at with this? And why am I in that place? And if we do that, that's the start of the path of transformation. Experience something new, if we are never honest, we can never change.
Yeah. Do you mean honesty, like asking ourselves if we're even good at that? Or do we actually love our neighbor? Or what do you think that honesty looks like a little bit?
Yeah. So
like for you, what would it look like for you?
I may or may not say, am I good at that? Because I'm the type of person that's not afraid to try things. I think like I'll try something and be like, I can get good at this, right? And I'll put in the time if I'm excited about it. Yeah. But it may be something like, why don't I do this right now? Am I afraid? Do I feel insufficient? Do I not value that like I should? Yeah. How does it integrate into my worldview? And maybe it doesn't have a place. Like we're increasingly becoming a community of new and non-Christians who are trying to figure out, what's this all for? What's this all about? Like, what is the church and what is following Jesus and what is, and so you have to kind of build a new worldview from the ground up. And a lot of that happened for me 10 years ago when I first met Jesus, and I was like deep diving on this thing. And it's like, okay, sharing this beautiful thing that God gave me is a foundational building block to what my faith is supposed to be. Yeah. So then how do if that's at the base layer, then what, Yeah. And so some of us have to reanalyze our base layer, because a lot of us, and this was me, just build a career, have some fun.
Yeah.
Make some money and goof around.
Yep. I mean, that's a lot of people's goal.
Yeah.
That can still be one of the goals, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah. And I still goof around and I still fun, right? But it's much lower on the priority list,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. I actually found when I put other things higher, like living for something larger than myself, serving others, those things happened all along the way.
That's really good.
I didn't need to have them be the priority.
Yeah.
Because it's the beauty of the gift of the kingdom
kinda
life.
happens as you go along.
Yeah. Okay. So if someone's like, am I making an effort to be my neighbor's friend? If they're like, okay, someone's trying to analyze this right now. How am I reaching my neighbors and say, do I kind of just wait for people to come along, or am I being intentional? Like, you know what? No, maybe I'm not really being intentional. What should we talk about here? What might be some reasons why someone might not be being intentional?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Something was just coming to mind on that, but I'm kind of flopping back and forth which one to go with.
Well, something we talked about beforehand is maybe you have too many long distance relationships.
Yeah.
Like it's like a lot of effort to see those, and so it takes a lot of bandwidth and time.
Yeah, that's tricky. And I think a lot of us have those. Like we live in such a transient city, so those relationships are still beneficial and good. But I have seen people where it's like we're really connected to those distant relationships, but we actually have none that we like see really frequently. Yeah, and I think that's tough, man. I think how well can we really know someone if we hardly ever see them? And phone calls can only go so far, at least for me. I don't know. I love phone calls. I think they're great, but they're not all sufficient. Like I don't get to hang out with that person. I don't get to cry with them and hug them and like do favors for them or whatever.
Yeah, we all just lived through the pandemic, right? And
Yeah.
we're all realizing our deep need for real relationships.
Yeah. And I think one of the other reasons is people just get really comfortable with what they do have, even though I think God actually desires so much more for us always in a lot of things that are so beautiful, like relationships and friendships. And I think it's easy to get comfortable with our like subpar friendships, and I only say that if we're like not really investing and they're just kind of there and we know they're there and we're comfortable that they're there, but we don't actually, I don't know, desire to like take that to the next level or to serve them well or to even ask God, like, what are we missing in this? Or how can I grow in this relationship? Or things like that. So I think comfort is like a huge reason that sometimes we don't make the effort to make new friends, is we're just really comfortable. And fear. I mean, you mentioned fear earlier. It's like we fear sometimes that new thing. It's scary. Like even for me, like I'm not as much of like a meet anybody at like the drop of a hat, though I do because I love to and I know that the benefit's there. But I totally get scared sometimes, like meeting new people, like not knowing what to say or what to ask or what to talk about. And I think a lot of people deal with that, just that like overall fear. And maybe we get too caught up in our head, or we're not well practiced enough in like how to have a healthy conversation with a new person. And I think one thing that I've learned, just to like give some people tools, the biggest thing I've learned is like when you meet new people, learn to ask really good questions. And that's so simple. It's like, oh, like, have you lived here a long time? What do you do for work? Do you have any kids? What is your relationships like? Like, do you eat around here? Do you know any good restaurant? Like there's so many questions and some can be really basic and some can be a lot more in depth. And it's just learning to ask good questions off of the answers and the information people give you. So,
yeah. And that takes a level of humility, empathy, compassion, and really being secure and firm in your identity. Like I know for me, like being such a free person living such a wild life in my early 20s, as I started getting older, it was like part of me still saw myself as that teenager. And I'd see somebody and they looked like a man, they were like a man. And I was like, I'm still a boy. Like, what do I have to offer? And why would that person ever want to talk to me? Because I don't fit the mold of society, right? Like get a career type job. And for a while it was like, for a long part of my life, I didn't want to get married and I didn't want to have kids. Now that's changed, but there's still a part of me that Jesus is working on that's helping me fully embrace all that, right? And so it's like there's often an insecurity between me and somebody else. And that we can allow Jesus to work those things out.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, like I have something to offer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Jesus has done something beautiful for me and I can share that,
Yeah.
you know, and I am older now and I have some life experience and I've been
Yeah.
married for, well, it'll be 10 years this month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have 2 kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, like, just so no one gets it confused, you don't have to have any of that
Yeah.
to relate to people outside of what you think they need. You know, like
Yeah.
you can be the young person and go to the dad of 3 kids at the park or wherever. You might not be at the park if you don't have kids. I just thought of that. Wherever you are. So you're at a restaurant and you meet somebody that doesn't fit your exact stage of life and even ethnic background or whatever the thing is that you look for to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
If they don't have that, there's actually still so much opportunity for like connectedness and relationship. Because we actually need people who are different than us. I think fundamentally, we don't want people who are exactly like us all around us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we all, if we're a little bit emotionally intelligent, we're like, oh yeah, I want people to challenge me and I want people that are different from me. But the reality is that's really hard to do if we're living out of fear, or it's really hard to do and to start those relationships if we haven't met those people and actually gotten to know them.
Yeah.
And like invited them over for dinner or gone out for a coffee or walked around the neighborhood or whatever the thing is,
Yeah.
right?
If I was to disciple younger me, I would say what you have to offer those men that you feel so insecure around is your curiosity and your energy and time,
It's so true.
right?
Yeah.
It's like humility to learn, like sometimes, like it's just a kingdom dynamic that we should want to pour out for others. And if you give someone space to do that,
Yeah.
they'll probably take
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's so good.
all right. And so if someone is saying, okay, I'm wrestling through some of my reasons why I'm not doing this. I feel like I don't have time. There, that's the one we didn't hit yet.
Yeah.
Right? So what do we do there?
Time is tricky. Yeah. And that's tough. I think a lot of people have a sore spot when we address timetables and time spent and what we're spending it on. And I think we just have to be willing to talk about it though and challenge one another. What are you spending your time doing? And not that you always have to make room for one thing or another, but just know why you're making room for what you are. And so if you are in a stage where you're like lonely, which I know a lot of people are, or if you're in a stage where you don't have a lot of friends, especially that are near you, I would definitely challenge those individuals to be like, hey, what are you spending your time on? What are you doing? Are you, as you would say, doom scrolling on your phone, which we all laugh at, but it's actually really serious. And my heart breaks for that. Like I've totally gone through seasons where that's like exactly all I do, even though I could pick up a book or call a friend, but I never do or did.
Or create something.
Yeah. And I think we need to address those things. So like doom scrolling is one of them. Just spending a lot of time on social media or our phone or apps or whatever. Yeah, that's a big one.
And there's so that's like a negative. That's like taking from your soul, right? Sometimes we're too busy, even sometimes with positive things, and that's a hard thing for me because like I spend a lot of time building things. Right? Like, you build a business, you can build a church, you can, build a hobby and, do lots of productive things. And sometimes the hard part to discern is when is the enemy just trying to keep you busy?
Absolutely. I feel like we need to like pause there. That's so good. Yeah. That's so good. Like the enemy does, he wants us to stay busy so that we don't have time for any of that enjoyment or blessing for others or even receiving.
Yeah.
And I think we can even ask like the really big questions of like, am I spending too much time at work? Is there a way I could ask for 5 more hours in my week? Especially if you have like an hourly job. I'm like, do you need to work 40 hours? Could you work 35 and totally have more freedom in your life? Or on your off time, what are you doing? What does that look like? Are you inviting others into that? Like even going grocery shopping, you can do that with people. Even like while you're doing laundry at home on a Sunday, just invite somebody over say it's mandatory, wear your sweatpants, and we're going to drink tea and hot chocolate. And all of a sudden you've turned something really mundane and lonely into something just really cozy and beautiful and relational. And so maybe we can think more creatively on like what we can invite people into, even if it seems weird or unconventional. And not that we have to have people around us all the time. Like I hear all the introverts just screaming through the abyss right now. And it's like, we can still set time aside to like, have that quiet time with God, have the space to watch a movie, to rest, to read. But then if we're simultaneously upset that we're lonely, then we just need to think more creatively, I think, about what we're doing with our time.
And on the busy, on the reason for busyness, right? It's funny, our perspective on it sometimes. I remember talking to a young couple, and I said, how are you guys doing these days? And they're like, oh, we're so busy. And I was like, oh, what are you up to? It's like, well, Monday night, we do volleyball, and Tuesday night we're going to a movie, and Thursday night is basketball. And I'm like, oh. And, all that stuff is good stuff.
Yeah.
And we can leverage that stuff to build relationships, right? And that's probably already happening, but that couple had a hard time seeing, how do we integrate it into our life with Jesus? How do we integrate our faith and our understanding of engaging the world, seeing all things reconciled back to Christ in those relationships and in those spaces and with that time, and so just our perception of what makes us busy and how we're busy and can even just prevent us from seeing what's right in front of us.
That reminds me of something, like just our perspective switching on what we're doing from excitement or anxiety, right? And we read this together, actually. We're going through a book, and this author is researching the different responses to emotions, and actually anxiety and enthusiasm, I believe, were the two in her book, were actually like the exact same physiological response. And just a mental perspective changes anxiety, sometimes can change anxiety to excitement or enthusiasm. And so, man, like just a perspective shift on some of the things we're doing, even if they're a little bit begrudging, can be life-changing.
That's such a great point, right? And that book's been really helpful for understanding these types of things. And so I hope that we can shift our perspective and move our way through this. Now, something else I would say for maybe somebody who's wrestling through time being the issue, right? It oftentimes, especially when we feel tapped for resources, that's the exact time that we need to invest. You say, well, what do you mean? I mean, if you invest early, then that pays dividends sooner, right? If you wait to invest, then your dividends aren't coming in until later, right? And so the same goes with relationships. If we invest early, it pays off dividends earlier. Like the sooner I start making friends, the more support, help, and resource I have when the hard times come. And when I'm at my max capacity. And so I would just encourage all of us to let's be good investors. Same idea with seed sowing. Like plant a seed. If you plant it at the beginning of summer, it'll bear more fruit over the course of the season. If you wait till the end of summer, you may not get any fruit at all. Or you may just get a vine. Speaking of vines, right? And sometimes it literally has to just be, I need to cut that out of my schedule. That needs to get pruned off so I can bear more fruit. And coming right back to our John 15 passage here, right?
Absolutely.
But then we talked about creative thinking. And some people just struggle to, and we kind of touched on this already. How do I repurpose what I'm already doing to get more fruit out of it?
100%.
Now, for those who are still kind of apprehensive, they're still thinking through this, still maybe wrestling or maybe even anxious about this, maybe because of previous attempts that failed, or we're already caught in maybe a depressive state of loneliness or whatever because the last few years has been hard. Let's just acknowledge that this is hard.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Yep.
And is there anything to say on that?
Just putting ourselves out there and being vulnerable is always hard, especially when we, you don't feel like your life is fully put together, or you're struggling in a couple areas, whether that's like finances or maybe family relationships are difficult or work is overwhelming. But that's where it goes back to that investment period where, we can always have time to just plant a couple seeds to see if we can have that sprout later. And so what that might practically look like, I think, is just investing in some of those relationships, like calling up a friend, meeting a neighbor, dropping off a loaf of bread or whatever. Doesn't have to be the housewife thing. You can pick your own thing if you're like a single college dude. But we can be creative in that. And so, I think you're absolutely right, though, that it's allowed to be hard. And for that reason, we don't have to do it alone, and that we're not alone. And like God is with us as we go out in that, but also we can like ask for help from our community, even if we don't know those people well, and just be like, I really want to get to know my neighbors. Can we all go ice skating this winter at my local pond? Like, just invite your friends that you do have to help you make more, and then be willing to like branch out. I don't know. There's just so many options.
Yeah, and for someone who may be new to our community or new to exploring faith, like that's what the church is totally for.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it's for.
Yep.
And it's not like you always need to be in this place of making more friends, right? But eventually people move, or hopefully we see our 3 groups multiply to reach more. And so that means you're intentionally letting some friends go in order to make space for other people.
That's right.
And beautiful things can happen there.
Yeah.
And okay, a lot of talk. Why bother with any of this?
Yep. That's a good question. I think we have to face that in our hearts. Why bother? Why is this important to me? Maybe you're sitting there listening to this and you're like, I don't know if I care. I don't know if I want to do that. Maybe you're closed off, right? But there are so many benefits that we have to acknowledge. You can have help to do the things that you do. Like, I can think of many different ways. Like, if you're a college student and you're ready to move, you have automatic moving neighbors. Not that we make friends to get things, but that there is this real element of like, we get to help one another. If you're a parent, you have babysitters that live in your neighborhood. And that's not the purpose, but it's one of the benefits. There's a million for every context. I think there's like a million ways to help.
How nice would it be just to save on driving time?
Yeah.
Like if I want to go to Louis and Angela's house, they're 5 houses down.
Yeah, it takes
I don't even need to
10
get
seconds.
the car, right?
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah. It is.
I can literally just walk into their house at any moment, at any time, because I didn't need to spend the extra effort getting ready. Like I literally walk over in my socks.
We have. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's true. Like we just save a lot of like, everyone's like, oh, I'm so busy. And I'm like, cool. Like have some connections that live close to you. Like you can still keep friends that live an hour away. We of course have friends that live lots of hours away. But we just see those people less because it's tough to make schedules work, right? So it's really nice to have people close by. I think the other thing was like, we get to see them more often. I know for people who live like kind of that 45 minutes to an hour or more away, it's really tough to see them more than like once a month, really, unless you're like really committed to that relationship or you have something going on where you like share something in common, or maybe you have a lot more time. Maybe one of your luxuries is that you do have time for that driving and time spent. But yeah, I think just frequency increases. So we get to see people more, which means we get to see more of like their real life. We get to come over, people get to come over to my house when it's messy because they live really close by and I get to just be okay with that or whatever the thing is.
Yeah. I love that. But also, when you focus locally, what I've noticed is there's been such a a gathering around local shared experience. So like as the city debates where to put in new developments or put in the new rapid transit line, like a lot of community happens around those shared experiences and shared things that are happening too in the neighborhood. We can relate to the Winterfest thing that the local BIA puts on or whatnot. And, and that's just such a great launch pad for a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So for us, that
great.
was going to the farmer's market. Like our local farmer's market. And we were a vendor, but you don't have to be a vendor. But we were a vendor and we met all the other vendors, right? And we met a few people that lived in our neighborhood too. And those are great potential friendships down the line.
Some of them are already. Yeah. Or were at least during the summer. And
yeah, well, one guy, he was a security guard at the market. He came on our men's retreat this spring, right? last spring, I guess. Yeah.
There you go. Yep. I think the other benefit of kind of having people close by that you're in real relationship with is just that opportunity for like casual hangout. Like, cause you know, you've had a long day and you get home from work or you get to pass off the kids or whatever your thing is that you're finished that was stressful. And you just want to like sit down and like be with somebody. And maybe your spouse isn't available, or maybe you just need like the perspective of somebody a little bit outside of your home. It's so nice to have that, like those casual impromptu hangouts. I know that's like a couple of my friends, we like mainly hang out through impromptu hangouts. And I know like some of them might even hear this and be like, yeah, like we don't plan anything, we don't schedule anything, but we see each other really often because we're like, oh, I just thought of you. I'm going to the grocery store. Do you want to jump in the car? I'll swing by and get you. Like that kind of thing. And it's great. Yeah. And it's honestly, that's like it's just so real and it's so easy. And we still talk about like real stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It's great.
Because everyone's got to go to the grocery store. Why not do it together?
Yeah.
Everyone's got to eat. Why not do
that
it
together? Yeah.
There's so many things that can just overlap.
Yep.
Yeah. And how valued do you feel when really it's like, well, it's so easy, but you still feel so valued, right? When it's like, I've had a situation where I go to hang out with a friend and they're like, yeah, looking at the calendar, how about a month from now? You know, and it's like, ooh, that makes me feel not valued, right? It's like, there is no time or space for me.
Yeah.
Right.
But also like, that makes me sad for them too, that I'm like, man, you have not enough room in your life to see someone that you do value a whole month away. And like, man, how are you filling up? How are you doing?
Yeah.
How overwhelmed are you? Or hopefully their schedule is full of good things, but we don't always get to know that, right?
Yeah. Totally. All right. So I think let's make this our final topic here, and we can kind of tie a bow on this. I think one of the things I've discovered is that the one another lifestyle, it's God's eternal purpose. It's what He's always wanted, right? Jesus lays His life down for His friends, and He says, "You're no longer servants," right? Because servants don't know. They don't know what the master's doing. No. But my friends know what's going on, you know? And the people that I meet and the people who are around, it's just so easy. Like the things that we're talking about inviting people into and the way we're talking about knitting our lives together, it's like, oh, that's the arena in which the kingdom can come and the one another lifestyle can happen. You know? It's like church is not about four walls. Right? It's not about a building.
Yeah.
It's about this beautiful rhythmic, maybe tri-rhythmic life that we're building together, you know? And so, you know, we talk about a few personal benefits. It's easy and there's help around and but there's beautiful things that you end up discovering too, which is just, oh, the kingdom is here.
Yeah. And that's the gold. That's like the benefits we talked about just to like get us out of our box of thinking. But like, yeah, there's so much beauty in that, right? And the kingdom is exactly it. We get to actually just see the people of God and love for one another, like, and not just people of God, like a lot of our friends are not necessarily Christians in our neighborhood. But we just get to bring light into those spaces, and they honestly give us so much back too. It's not just a one-way thing. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's close here.
See?
And could you, like all of our other wonderful special guests, put a deposit of prayer into our community on this topic of making friends in our local neighborhood?
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Lord, thank you so much that you are a God who desires for us not to be alone. And I just pray for everyone just hearing this message and thinking through these things and thinking through their own relationships, Lord, that you would just help them to search their heart and ask you what's next. And I just pray that they would trust you as they step out in faith to build relationships and to serve one another and to just be a light in their communities. And I just pray that you would show them the fullness of friendship in the coming weeks and months. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Emily, for having that conversation with me. I love talking to you. You're just my sweetie, and it's great. I enjoy you. And I hope you guys enjoyed that as well. As we look to respond to what God is doing in our hearts, we are going to go into song. And so let's be reflecting on some of those things that the Spirit might be doing in our hearts from the things that Emily and I talked about. And let's, again, lift those up to the Lord Jesus Christ, say thank you and celebrate his name and enjoy his presence. And then we'll go into meal and song afterwards and just have meal and discipleship time, community time afterwards, and just really enjoy each other as a community of faith. So have a good one, church. Enjoy singing to Jesus.
I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy in all my days. Oh, yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me